Hammer Nation. I gotta get up. It feels good. Luigi's. This is good. Let me see. I just have a sandwich. Yeah. Yeah. Trump might be indicted again, folks. Yeah. Oh, crap. Ugh. You know, it's just hard for me to understand 6 cops against 2 black guys, and they busted into a house in Jackson, Mississippi without a warrant, and they did this to these guys, man. I thought I've heard some stupid stuff in my time, but Hammer Nation, this takes the cake, man. This takes the cake of what them cops did to what those 6 cops did to that guy. The squad was known as the Goon Squad. If y'all don't know the story, these cops was in Jackson, Mississippi. Somebody made a call to the police about some black guys and a white lady, and they busted in without a warrant. And they just made these guys just look awful. It was awful, Hammer Nation. If anybody has any kids around, I suggest you get them out of the room, and I'll tell you the whole story. I mean, I've heard some things in my time, not since Rodney King, but this one takes the cake, man. Yep, this takes the cake, what those cops did. Sorry. I mean, really, this takes police brutality to another level, man. It sure does. It sure does. Mm-hmm. Oh, hey, Joshua. I mean, man, they busted in without a freaking warrant. If you're going to serve a warrant, you may as well have it signed by the judge. But no, these cops just busted in anyway. You know? They just busted in anyway, Hammer Nation. Oh, hey, Joshua. And they made them get naked. Like I said, if you have any kids around, I suggest you not hear this. If anybody's over 18, you can stay. If they're not over 18, just take them out the room, because this might be too graphic to anybody to take. I'm sure Joshua must have heard of this story down there in Jackson, Mississippi. They might be up on some state charges too. These 6 cops. The stupid squad. The idiot squad. That's what I call them, the idiot squad. Oh, man. So I just want to tell you the story. Let me see. Yeah, okay. You want to hear it? Okay. Uh, yeah. I call these cops the idiot squad. If you got another name for them, let me know, man. I call them the idiot squad. Six cops against 2 guys. Okay. Jackson, Mississippi, AP. Men who had sworn an oath to protect and serve were huddled on the back porch of a Mississippi home as Michael Corey Jenkins lay on the floor, blood gushing from his mutilated tongue, where one of the police officers shoved a gun in his mouth and pulled the trigger. Imagine that, Joshua. Some cop pulls a gun on you, but he puts it in your mouth and he pulls the trigger on you. And you say to yourself, I'm going to die right there. But that wasn't enough for these 6 cops. As Jenkins writhed in pain, the 6 white officers devised a scheme to cover up dozens of stunning acts of brutality that they had just carried out during 90 minutes of torture against Jenkins and the second black victim. The officers planted drugs. They stole surveillance footage from the house. They tried to dispose of other evidence. You listen to this, Joshua? Hey, young Riaz. Are you listening to this, Joshua? Put a 1 if you're listening or something. If you're listening, type in, man. Careful to avoid. They stole surveillance footage from the house. They tried to dispose of other evidence. Okay. They agreed on a set of lies that would further upend their victims' lives, and that was just a cover-up. Hey, Bobby Blues. Listen to this, Bobby. This is disgusting. Careful to avoid security cameras at the house, they burst in without a warrant. That's the number 1 thing they did, Hammer Nation. They busted in without no warrant whatsoever. They busted into this house without a warrant. Okay? That's not the worst of it. Starting the physical, sexual, and psychological abuse, they handcuffed Jenkins and his friend Eddie Terrell Parker and poured milk, alcohol, and chocolate syrup over their faces. I call these guys the idiot squad. 6 guys, 6 cops against 2 black guys. The 2 black guys was outnumbered. They forced them to strip naked and showered together to conceal the mess. They mocked the victims with racial slurs. They shot them with stun guns. The officers had meant to torture the men without leaving physical scars, but one shot Jenkins in the mouth. Miraculously, Joshua Jenkins survived. He survived that. Yeah, Bobby, he survived that. I'm surprised he's living to tell the story, okay? The 6 officers pleaded guilty last week to a long list of federal civil rights charges. They used a sex toy on the guys. A sex toy. They used a sex toy on the men. Let's see. Let's see. The officers pleaded guilty to a long list of federal civil rights charges. The Mississippi Attorney General's office announced afterward that it had filed state charges that included assault, conspiracy, and obstruction of justice. Law enforcement officers are seldom charged for crimes committed on the job, and it's rarer still for them to plead guilty. These cops should be shot dead. The officers included Christian Dedman, Hunter L. Ward, Brett McAlpin, Jeffrey Middleton, and Daniel Opdyke of the Rankin County Sheriff's Department, and Joshua Hartfield, a Richmond police officer. They pleaded guilty to charges including conspiracy against rights, obstruction of justice, deprivation of rights under color of law, discharge of a firearm under a crime of violence, and conspiracy to obstruct justice. The terror began on January 24th, and the racists called for extrajudicial violence that felt like it was from a bygone era. Oh, man. This is how it all started. A white neighbor phoned Rankin County Deputy Brett McAlpin and complained that 2 black men were staying with a white woman inside a Braxton home. McAlpin told Deputy Christian Dedman, who texted a group of white deputies so willing to use excessive force, they called themselves the Goon Squad. Put themselves the Injured Squad? Can somebody put the Injured... Call these guys the Stupid Squad. Call them the Stupid Squad. Give me another name for these guys. Give me another name for these guys, all right? I call these guys, what's a good name for it? What's a good name for these? They call themselves the Goon Squad. I call themselves the Grotesque Squad. The Grotesque Squad. Okay? Yeah. And they used a sex toy on these guys. Let's see. They used a sex toy on these guys, Hammer Nation. Let me see how the Injured Squad did it. I call them the Injured Squad. The Goon Squad used sex toy on 2 black guys. Yeah, they're man. They used a sex toy on these guys, the Injured Squad. Okay? I hope these guys sue them, but these guys are scarred for life. These guys are scarred for life, man. Mm-hmm. It is, Joshua, it really is. That's why I don't want to be a cop. I don't want to be a cop to save a life. If you're gonna have cops like this, I'd run for cover. You know, I really would. Yep. And imagine that cop put the gun in the mouth of this guy and shot him. He put the gun in his mouth and shot him. How does that feel, man? I'm surprised by the grace of God he survived. This is in Jackson, Mississippi, Joshua. What else did they do? Oh, here's what Officer Oakdyke found a sex toy, which he mounted on a nearby BB gun and forced into Parker's mouth. Deadman tried to sexually assault Jenkins with the toy. The officers used stun guns on him, comparing those weapons were more powerful. Elward forced Jenkins to his knees for a mock execution, intending to fire the gun without a bullet, but it was loaded and discharged, cutting Jenkins' tongue, breaking his jaw, and exiting through his neck. As Jenkins bled on the floor, the officers devised a cover story for investigators. Elwood brought Jenkins into a side room to stage a drug bust over the phone, said Jenkins reached for a gun where he was released from handcuffs. Oh, man. This is sickening. This is sickening. And they're supposed to be officers of the law. They disgrace the badge. If anybody who lives in Jackson, Mississippi ever see one of these cops, I'd run. I'd run for cover, man. Yup. I'd run for cover. I'd run, man. Imagine that. These guys bust in. It's only 2 of you and 6 of them. You're outnumbered 2-1. And these guys is using you as for their own sick pleasure. Stripped them naked, made them shower together, used a sex toy on them, Joshua. That's sick, man. These guys ought to just not get the firing squad on them. That's all. That's what I say. Man. 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 What's in the water down there? What's in the water down there in Jackson, Mississippi, man? If I was the people there, I would not call no cops no more after that. No. 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 Mm-mm. Oh, God. What is this world coming to? Serial killers? Cops using sex toys on 2 innocent black guys. What's gonna happen now? I swear. This is ridiculous, man. I bet they're gonna have nightmares for life. Hellman's mayonnaise, the bomb. Get me some Hellman's mayonnaise. That's all I'll have for today. This is I have myself on the top of the pile. Harry, Harry, have oh here. Let me just check this out. And yeah, well, it's just a bunch of idiots. Hi, Gary. What up, Gary? What up, Gary? What do you want, Gary? Food? Idiot. The idiot squad. Yep. Meeting this. I'm gonna wait till Jersey Mike opens it up. What you want, Gary? Huh? Come on, Gary. Yeah. So I will see y'all a little bit later here in this shit. But that was awful what these guys did to these two guys, man. I'll talk more about this later, but that's darn awful, man. Really, yeah. I was here.